Hello and welcome to another episode of In Defense of. In this episode, I'll be putting up a defense for the ex-TikToker and social media influencer TicsandRoses, or as they go by, Emerald. Even if you don't recognize the name, I'm sure you've seen Emerald or have heard many stories of people like them. Emerald is one of the main people who have been accused of faking their Tourette's online, and people's opinion on this case are pretty unanimous. Now, it's possible this person is faking it. The incentive is certainly there in today's online world, and I can't be 100% positive they have Tourette's, the same with any other content creator who claims to have it. The two main problems I have with the brigade against this person are A lot of the reasons or evidence I see people give as to why Emerald is faking it are things that I've regularly seen in other people with Tourette's, and B, I haven't seen any behavior from this person that would make me confidently say that they are faking their Tourette's. Now, something I've seen a lot of, and where I think a lot of this stems from, is people will often start statements about Emerald with either, I have Tourette's, or I have a close friend with Tourette's, to try to ensure people that they have some authority on the matter. I'm sorry, but just having Tourette's, or knowing someone with Tourette's, doesn't mean you know everything when it comes to other people's experiences with Tourette's. With how differently Tourette's affects everyone, it would be as ridiculous as me saying that someone was faking their cancer because their symptoms didn't match mine or a friend of mine. Now, I've explained why some people aren't fully informed on this topic, but what does make someone informed on this topic? And more importantly, for the sake of this video, what makes me feel like I'm more informed on this topic than most other people? Okay, first of all, I have Tourette's, but I would never claim that that alone makes me knowledgeable on this topic. What makes me knowledgeable on this topic is that I have attended and have been a counselor at a camp for kids with Tourette's for nearly a decade, and I have met hundreds of people with Tourette's. That gives me a broader view on how Tourette's can affect people than the people who just have it, or know a few friends that have it. I think the best way to structure this video is just by going through comments or videos of people saying that Emerald is faking their Tourette's, and explain why the reasons these people give are flawed, as I've witnessed many of these reasons in real life and other people with Tourette's, because it is irresponsible to say that someone is faking their Tourette's for reason X, if some people with Tourette's do X, regardless of whether or not that person is faking it or not.
The bizarre part about one of these old live streams was that, despite apparently having Tourette's since the age of 6 to 7, during the entire 1 minute 54 second video, Emerald didn't tick, not even once. In the videos that were displayed on the TicsandRoses TikTok page, she's often seen ticking once every 1 to 3 seconds, sometimes even more than that. Therefore, a full 1 minute 54 second old undeleted live stream in which she didn't tick once was certainly some interesting early evidence against the authenticity of her disorder. Shortly thereafter, Reddit would uncover another full 54-minute live stream, again without a single tick, rendering her previous excuse slightly less believable. There were other pieces of similar evidence. For example, she'll post a TikTok titled Nursery Rhymes with Tourette's, in which she couldn't get past the first line of reading without ticking, yet Reddit would find an example of her reciting a written poem for 2.5 minutes in an old clip without a single sign of even the slightest tick.
I've seen this argument used a lot when people talk about whether or not someone actually has Tourette's online. The facts are, the regularity of people's tics fluctuate constantly, sometimes day to day, sometimes month to month, sometimes 5-year periods where people will almost have no tics at all. Someone with Tourette's not ticking for hours is totally normal and common. It is irresponsible to try to use someone not ticking in a video to attempt to disprove their Tourette's.
In yet another old Facebook livestream, TicsandRoses somewhat sincerely shared information about her experience with Huntington's disease. Reddit users found an old Huntington's disease fundraiser from October 2014 hosted by Emerald. While many on Reddit remained skeptical in comments as blatant as, I don't believe she has Huntington's disease, the video in combination with the 2014 fundraiser gave her a pretty good case proving that she did in fact have the disease. However, people quickly discovered something else associated with this diagnosis that was extraordinarily fishy. In order to be diagnosed with Tourette's syndrome, you must have symptoms that are not the result of another medical condition such as Huntington's disease. Even if she does have tics, which is major doubt here, no doctor should be diagnosing her with Tourette's. Instead, any good doctor should be telling them that their tics, again major doubt, are a byproduct of their Huntington's. This basically meant that if she did truly have Huntington's, the case for her having Tourette's was now even weaker. However, there was still no...
My main problem with this part is that it's a bunch of people who aren't doctors acting like they know what the fuck they're talking about. I don't know whether someone with Huntington's disease can have Tourette's or not. The quote that they must have symptoms that are not due to having another medical condition can be interpreted in two ways. The way these people are interpreting it, which is leading them to think you can have both, or it could just be saying that in order to be diagnosed with Tourette's, you have to have some additional symptoms that aren't tied specifically to Huntington's disease. Once again, I'm not a doctor, so I don't know which is the correct way to look at it, but my point is that none of these people are either. yet they're acting like they just got their fucking medical degrees. Now, let's read some comments from the medical experts in the YouTube chat. For me, I feel like the biggest sign she was faking it was her laughing at her tics. People who live every day with it learn to live with it and try their best to keep going about their day, not trying to bring too much attention to it. But when you see her laughing at her own tics like it's a funny joke, you can tell from right there she hasn't lived with it. Being someone within a friend group of people who all have Tourette's, we laugh at our tics all the time. Just because you, or some of the people you know with it, take it very seriously as something to be struggled with and not joked about, doesn't mean that everyone else with it has to as well. There are of course moments where it's a struggle for me or my friends too. That doesn't mean we can't embrace it or laugh about it other times. Also, have you ever considered that maybe Emerald embellishes their reactions to their tics for the camera? Her tics always match whatever she's doing. They never cross into other videos where she's doing something else. This person infuriates me. I have tics. This is not how they work. They make it relevant to whatever they're doing. Tics are a frequent thing, not a I do this once and it never happens again. I have a gasping tic, one where I hit things and people, a rapid blinking one, and one where my head will jerk forward multiple times. My tics aren't regular. They are anxiety induced. Seeing this person makes me want to scream. This, I would say, is Emerald's most common criticism. But believe it or not, a lot of tics can be, and are, situational. I have one where I slam my computer mouse. Some people have ones that make it unsafe for them to cook, drive, and many other things. It's very presumptuous of you to assume that just because you don't have situational tics, that therefore other people don't. Everyone has different tics and a different ratio of situational to non-situational tics. Although it may be uncommon that most or all of somebody's tics are situational, it is nowhere near impossible, and I have seen it many times. Overall, I think people's understanding of how varied Tourette's is or can be is lacking. I could name a plethora of tics that I've seen from people I've met in real life that would surprise you. Tics where if you saw anyone online have them, you would immediately accuse them of faking their Tourette's. Many people with Tourette's would even accuse them of faking their Tourette's because their own internal experience is so different from what they see this person doing. Online, there are always going to be scummy people that pretend to have issues that other people have to deal with. And as shitty as it sounds, they aren't actually hurting anyone. No one is affected by Emerald even if they are faking their Tourette's, which I don't think they are, by the way. But I understand why people go after people like Emerald, because it feels good and righteous to take out the bad guy, when in reality, the people on these crusades are the ones often making life more difficult for people with Tourette's. Yes, even with the best intentions, you are the ones causing a culture that highly scrutinizes anyone who steps forward saying they have Tourette's, and miscorrectly labels certain actions as proof of someone faking it when it isn't. Sure, some scummy people will get what they deserve if we continue down this path, but at what cost? How many innocent people have to find themselves in the crossfire of this war, where the only benefit is that we get to feel good and pat ourselves on the back for taking out the bad guy? I'm not 100% sure what the solution to all this is. I guess I just want people to realize that in trying to righteously take down these bad people, they're also causing a level of harm to the overall discourse. The solution these people have, in my opinion, causes more harm than the problem it's solving. You already bullied Emerald off the internet for their Tourette's, and none of their actions made it seem like they were faking it to me. In fact, I shared some clips of Emerald ticking with a friend of mine who's even more knowledgeable on Tourette's than I am, someone who's worked within Tourette's organizations for over a decade. And my friend's response was, there's no way they're faking it. My friend saw a lot of her own tics and behaviors represented in the video, and she found it very authentic. Thank you for making it to the end of this video. I feel like this one was a bit spicier than usual, so be sure to let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Anyways, I'll see you later.